Vicky gets here. Ah, we're live.
All right.
Ooh, look at that. Ooh, look at us. We're live, everybody. All right. We're waiting for Vicky, for you people that are just joining us. But we're going to talk about sex, not with Vicky, maybe with Vicky. And Adam's going to talk about promos today, the giveaways he's doing and things.
Yes. So,
Yeah,
hello,
exciting.
guys.
Hello,
And
everybody.
how are you doing?
Yeah,
So,
we're doing
along
good.
with the Achronos Gallery that I had an exhibition previously,
That's us.
we have created some collectibles, and
Ooh,
there are
let's
some
look.
giveaways that are running on my social media, on Facebook, on
Yep.
Instagram, and
Wait,
on
wait, look
Hello
who's
Vicky.
joined us. The starlet is here because
Wait, I
she's
can't hear
here.
you. Hold on.
That's what we love that about you, and because we're
I
live
have
and
my audio screwed up. Hold on. I can't hear
oh
you.
my god, this is what happens, people.
Ah,
Here you go.
hold on, hold
There
on,
you go.
hold on.
Oh, there you go. All right, there you go. There you go. There you go.
Talk amongst yourselves.
We do constantly. Hey, you know what we'll do while you're trying to figure out your audio? We're gonna play the intro, and then Adam will talk about his giveaway. Hey guys,
All
we'll be
right.
right back.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
And we're now live. Vicky's on mute. Oh, we like look at her. She wears sunglasses at night. There you go, Vicky. Look at you.
It looks like a
She's on
data.
you're on mute, Vicky. You look we love it when you're on mute. This is beautiful. Your marriages would last much longer if there was a mute button. Would you like to click unmute? Here, I'll click unmute for Vicky. There you go, Vicky. I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself. Vicky is on mute. You're on mute. I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself.
But can she listen? Can you
I think
listen?
she hears us. I don't think she knows how to unmute herself. This is too
There
funny.
is a button, I think, down
There is a button. She
on the
clicked
left.
something that muted her, and now she's unmutable. Oh, she's thinking about it. She's wearing sunglasses. She's just too cool for school. She's thinking about it. This is great. You know what? We're just going to talk, and at some point, Vicky will just be here. She's the eye candy anyway. She's like yeah. She's like the weather girls of the '60s that they just
She's
used
trying
to
to
put
tell
their
us
eye
something
candy.
important, but she cannot. Maybe it's a
She can't,
message.
yeah. So it's like,
Maybe
what's that
there was an
movie where the
alien
kids?
attack
Oh my god, it's
on
like
her,
what's her
and
called?
she wants to warn us
Well,
about the
maybe.
dangers.
She's about the type of Vicky. We can't. You're on mute. You're muted. Mute. Okay, I love it. I'm good that we're live. Our fans get to see how bad it is that what we go through on a daily basis. Okay, let me just tell her.
Press
You
Control and D. Press Control and D on your Control and D. Control
here.
and D.
Let's see if we can help Vicky out a little bit. There we go. I don't think she realizes she's muted. There we go. She's like, stop it. Anyway, talk about your giveaways while Vicky's muted.
Yeah. So in the three of the social media, on Facebook, on
Yes.
Insta, and on X,
Yeah.
you can win in each one of them 2 of those guys here. There are
Okay.
collectibles that we created from artworks that were in that show.
Right.
And they're very nice. You can buy them also, of course. There are 20 editions of them. You can buy them
Nice.
in the gallery.
Okay.
But you have to ask for them now. And so if it's very simple to participate. You just go to the site and follow the 3 rules. I think you have to go and like the gallery. You have to share the post and write something, because you need to write something, because some guys don't write anything. We will choose the winner from the guys that write something, because that's how you show your name.
Right.
So that's the giveaway. So there are 6 of them, 2 in each social media. There are very many possibilities to win, because there are not much engagement with social media when we post like this. So there are not too many participants yet. So just do it. I think.
Do it. So basically,
because those are very nice, because the gallery has also associated those collectibles with NFT. So it's they have a legal access to their certificate, digital certificate.
Well, if you're watching this and you want to get to Adam's social media and you can't figure out how to do it, you can come. If you look at the links below, you'll see where it says our media. Go to our Instagram page, and we can get you to Adam very quickly.
Yeah, or just write Adam Martinakis on Google
Sure, it's easy for you to
search.
say that and spell that, but most people can't.
Just copy the name from the title. I don't
For
know.
the
It's
thing, it
easy.
requires thought. You know how people are.
Wait,
So,
why is it so difficult? I mean,
your name?
it's a Martin and Akis.
It's a,
Martinakis.
sure. That was a comedy act back in the '60s. So there's two guys, Rowan Adams and Martinez. Yeah, and
Martinez.
Dean Martinez and Jerry Adams. Yeah, I remember those guys. So your fans are watching. The lives are blowing up. So what do you want to talk about today while we wait for Miss Vicky to show back up if she can get back in?
We will talk. I don't know what's
What
on
do you
your
want to talk
mind.
about? Ah,
Well, I was
there's so
my
much.
week was a lot of thinking about like always the metaphysics
Okay, so
about
let's
the
talk about
entity.
metaphysics.
I also posted this question, about God. That
Ooh, let's talk about me. I mean,
if
let's talk about God. I'm sorry.
yeah, but the question is really simple, and I don't take any answer that is literally about the question, because it sounds like this, like God is almighty, right? So he
Mhm.
knows everything. He, she,
Sure.
it knows everything. That's why
Yeah.
it's almighty. That it means almighty.
Omnipotent, right?
So it knows the future as well.
Okay.
So since it knows the future,
Hmm.
knows that you will exist at some point because he will create you anyway, and
Right.
you whatever you will do, all your sins,
Yeah.
and knowing all your sins because he knows the future, he'll
Right.
later judge you for them.
Right. That's what it says in that little book that they made up.
Yeah, but
The book by man.
Is it logical statement? This
No, of course not. Well, first of all, you got to. Here's the problem with, I believe that there's a power and a superior being. My
Yeah, I
problem
believe
is
so
that
also.
but the problem is that the book that the people follow were written by men, not inspired by anybody. So if you know the history of how the Bible was written, you realize it's a farce. So that's what I'm saying. So I think when you talk about God, I think everybody has their own God, if you will, like what they believe or what they pray to. And at the end of the day, um, it is what it is. But I think some people they wrap themselves up in it, and they've never really read all the religious works. They read just the Bible, but they don't read the books that were kicked out of the Bible because
And
the Vatican and them didn't
I'm not
like it.
pretty sure if they have interpreted it right also, because I'm
Well, there's a
saying this
lot of
often.
people. There's a lot of people that say that they've not interpreted the Bible correctly because there's
Of course.
mistranslations. There's things that have been left out. There's a book called the Book of
And
Mary.
they meant probably different thing, because some things that they are written there are totally symbolic. I mean, it's totally
Oh yeah,
symbolic.
but it's not even that symbolic. It's just made up stuff. And if you
Yeah,
read it, and it
it's made
talks
up.
about,
Everything is made up in this
yeah, I know, but
universe. Even
point
the
is when
universe
they
is
talk,
made up.
right, when they talk about Satan, even Satan is kind of made up. When we're talking about
Hear
God in the Bible, Vicky, we can hear you. Yes.
Yay!
Yay, Vicky's here. Talking about people that should know about the Bible because she's from the South. No, I'm
Oh,
just kidding. We're talking about God and the Bible, and is it really real, or because it was written by men, and or is there other things out there, and
oh,
existentialism and everything,
so my
and then
topic today. That's
yeah, so it's
great.
it's just easy conversation for people.
But but
So yeah,
but you
that's
know
what we're
something.
talking about.
First to answer this question,
Yeah.
you have to understand what is real in general, what we feel real in general. I
Okay.
mean, there are a lot of stories out there, but the
Right.
only real thing that exists is experience. That means that a story that you are reading and you are liking or not liking, believing or not believing, doesn't matter.
Right.
It's something that gives you a kind of experience because you think about it, because you
Right.
start, to associate things about the story of any kind of religion or any kind of philosophical story or narrative. So it's about experience anyway. Now, some
Right.
experiences, they differ, of course, because some we favorite them more. I don't know for
Okay.
what reasons. There might be millions of reasons. There might be also that they resonate more with us because there are some
Okay.
stories that we hear, they don't make any sense to us. That it's, if it doesn't make sense to your mind, you don't want it. It's not attractive anymore.
Right.
But if it does make some sense, even if you disagree, it makes you some sense. So you can say something that you can say that I disagree, and you can start dialogue.
Great. But here's what's really funny when you talk about the Bible and you start talking about religion, is that people, like they go crazy. I mean, whether they're Muslim, Jew, Christians, well, the Christians are totally fucked up, so they go crazy over everything. But the
All
people
of
go
them. All of
nuts.
them.
Oh, the Jews were okay. We're like, yeah, it is what it is. Don't worry about it. We own everything anyway, and we have lasers in space. We don't care.
Oh, you have
That's
people
true.
very
That's true, by the way.
religious and totally fanatic. It's about fanatism. It's about
Right.
any religion, It doesn't
But
have
that's
to. It
okay.
has to do with fanatism.
I know, but here's the problem with it, and just in general. The problem with it in general is that once again, the book was not written by, if you will, for lack of a better term, God. It was written by men. The Bible, the King James version, or Virgin, I guess, either way, was written by King James. There's people in like the 1600s, and they took it from, there's like 84 books, and they got it down to 64 because they didn't
Yeah,
like
but it doesn't
the Book
matter
of
actually
Enoch.
who wrote it.
Yeah, but my point
What
is,
it matters.
it does kind of matter because they didn't take the
Why?
Book of Enoch, they didn't take the Book of
No,
Adam, they didn't take the Book of
what it
Mary.
matters is what it represents. It
It represents
represents
nothing. It's just
ideas.
yes. You know what it is? It's to keep human beings, because I'm part of the Lizard People Illuminati group. It's to keep all of you people in line because there's a book written by a mystical guy that says if
Yeah,
you do this, you
it's
go to hell.
another narrative. You can call it a narrative. Now,
Yeah, it's how to keep the public in line,
if it finds popularity, we will see. But
yeah,
it's all narrative. It's all narratives in our lives, everything,
right?
and it has to be. We need those narratives. That's why we
No, we don't.
follow religions.
I disagree with that. I really, you think if
Your
the
life
Bible
is a
didn't,
narrative.
no, my life is
Your life is a
my life is
narrative. You're a
me.
human being.
No.
Your life has to have narrative.
No, it doesn't. Let me read my script right here and see what it says. Nope, I don't. Okay, so, but my point, like with the Bible, I'm glad this is all for Vicky before she goes to Korea. Her life's a narrative.
Right? Like my life is a soap opera right now.
But
Hmm.
the whole thing with the Bible is to keep people in line. Let me ask you this: if there was no Bible and no laws, and it said, like in the Bible, my Bible reads, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt covet thy neighbor's wife, thou shalt
Not
commit
covered.
adultery. That's a good.
Yeah,
That's
not
what.
yeah, not.
That's I got all that. Like I'm really good at all that. Now, the thing I have, my question is, if this little book and men didn't make a law, you shouldn't kill somebody. You think people are just going to run around and kill people? Well, I mean, they're doing that now in high
No,
schools
it's
with guns,
just
but
common logic written there. It's that we actually
yes,
don't talk about it because we know that it's bad. But sometimes there are societies that see it different in a different
right.
way. There are
Are,
some societies are more violent than others.
so just
Life
because,
matters less. For example, in the
right,
history of the human species, we see it in the past. And now the life matters
no, it
more
doesn't.
than
They're
it
killing
used
each
to.
other more now than they did back in the day.
Yeah, but if
Because
you
now we
looked at
have
the
weapons to
numbers and
kill
the
people.
everyday life, it was much worse. You could be dead like that because the richer guy just didn't like you, so you
But
said
see,
something wrong.
but you know what's good being a
Yeah,
richer guy. I'm
without
okay with that.
being
Get rid of
punished.
the peasants. I'm good. Yeah. So I'm kidding. We need the peasants. Who's going to clean the house?
We
It
Anyway,
have
works.
made a lot of
Right.
advancements as a society, but the dangers because the dangers are following patterns. The dangers are the same in multiplied because we have more powerful technology right now. Because the
listen,
technology is a tool,
you
so we
talk
have more
about the
strong tools.
you're like you talk about the Catholic Church, you talk about Christians. They've killed more people over this ridiculous fable than anybody. They had the
Yeah, but they don't
Crusades, they
matter
had this,
anymore.
they had that. Oh,
They
everything
don't have.
matters because look at it
They,
today. We're
they
killing
don't.
each other today for the same stupid stuff. Look at what's going on in Gaza. Look at what's going on in the Ukraine. Look at what's going on in Africa. If you start looking at all these conflicts, at the end of the day, we're still killing each other over nothing. Seriously, what are we killing each
No,
other
no, it's
for?
not over nothing. It's about histories,
Well,
about stories.
and you want to know something? That's absolutely nothing. I'm killing you over something
Well,
that's 1,000 years
it's
old.
for you, but if you say it to some guys involved in the conflicts, they'll tell you
Well, yeah, if I'm
different.
sitting there getting shot at, it means a lot to me that some idiot's trying to kill me or take my land. But realistically, then, if we're going to look at history, this will be fun.
Mhm.
The American Indian, or I don't like, they're indigenous. We know they're indigenous, but the American Indian, ooh, cowboys and Indian people, they should be rising up at any moment to take their land back from us because we stole it from them. They owned
Yeah,
it. It was theirs before we came and took it. So in
yeah,
theory,
it's one
if
of
I'm
the
going to look at history,
arguments.
they should
Yeah,
come
it's
and take it over. Vicky, are you part Indian? Do we need to worry about this? Or are you okay?
Native American? No, I'm not. No.
Okay.
Although they don't believe that people own the land, so they would probably disagree and say that they didn't own it, that was taken from them. But anyway,
Except until they
I digress.
except until they built the Hard Rock, and now they're worth trillions of dollars. Now they're like, yeah, we own all this. We're good.
They deserve that money of all people.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Let
So,
them build
yeah.
the Hard Rocks and yeah. No, I mean it's like what's Stephen, you probably know this quote. I don't remember exactly what it is. It's religion is the something of the masses. What is it? Religion is the
Oh, the religion is
something of
the
the masses.
stupidity. No, it's the drink
Anyway,
of the masses or something. Here, let me look it up.
it's something like that. The point of it is that it's used to control people, right? Or to keep
Right,
people in line. And people instinctively need, like Adam said, they need a story, they need something to believe in. So they're gonna pick, most people throughout history are gonna pick whatever the prevalent religion is and follow it. And depending on what that religion is, if it's Christianity, some are more violent or some are more they encourage less thinking on the individual's part
right,
and more blind following a doctrine or an idea. And the less the religion encourages you to think for yourself and
right,
to um, have that sort of thought process, the less people are going to question the things in the religion that are fucked up, right?
right. And
So I think that's sometimes why Christians are so violent, is because you're meant to be a follower, right? That's the whole
right.
point. You're not meant to be an individual in that religion or to question that. You're meant to follow and have faith. That's the whole point of faith, is to not question, right?
Right.
So you go fight in the Crusades, or you go fight for this because that's what you've been told to believe in and you don't question it.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't know.
by the
My
way, to
point.
give you the quote, religion,
Yes.
religion is the opium of the people or the masses, if you
Opium the
will.
peace. Okay,
And
there you
it was
go.
written in 1843. And you want to know who said it?
I was alive then. No, who said that?
I know you were alive. You knew the guy, I think. Karl Marx is the gentleman
Ah,
who
okay,
said that.
okay.
Good
Yeah.
old, good old. And Karl believed in God.
And
So,
he knows about the masses. So
he
yeah,
knows
I
about
mean, it's
something.
kind of the point. It
Yeah.
keeps people,
But it's a
keeps
doctrine. Anything's a
people,
doctrine.
yeah,
I mean, like, if Mein Kampf was a doctrine, was a religion, if you will, for a lot of people.
could be. Hmm.
You know what I mean? So when they talk about the book, and Adam, you bring up God and stuff, but and I don't say, is there a God? I believe there's a higher power. And whether you want to call him God, or you want to call it the absolute, or you want to call it whatever, there's something, right? Because we just didn't overnight appear, unless this is just like a Matrix or a video game. Then our
This
creators,
doesn't
like
exist.
our little green kid, about 4 feet tall, and he's like, "You were a
but
science
still
experiment. Leave me
something
alone."
created them too, right?
Well, that's my
Yeah.
point. The question I always ask is, and no one can ever answer this with theologians and scientists, because they're all like, "Well, we're this and that." I'm like, yeah. But where on the scale of, like, there's a scale of 0 where it starts, or right before
Mm,
0, and and the scale to infinity. And we're somewhere on, we'll say we're number 6.
mm.
I want to know what was before 0. And nobody can ever answer that question because they're like, there was nothing. That's impossible. So I'm like, tell me. So I'm very fascinated by it. So
Mm.
not that,
Well,
so
I'll
I
tell you
want to
for
know.
sure what there was.
Tell
I
me.
mean, there are things we don't know and we can't know.
Right.
There are
Ever.
things that we can know
Right.
by straight logic. What there was for sure were possibilities because we are here.
Mhm.
So there were possibility of everything that we observe all
Mhm.
around. I mean, the galaxies, the quasars, the gravity, and everything. Those things
Let's,
were
yeah.
a possibility to happen inside
Right,
there,
right, right.
before there, and it happened. So
I agree.
this possibility was there.
Right.
So
But it's it's
you already
fascinating though.
exclude nothingness. There was a possibility. Now, what
Right.
the possibility looked like, it's hard to say because one of the possibilities was for us to be created, and one of the things that it created was mass and time, and we can only operate in mass and time, like
Right.
physical world and time, space time, and
Right.
nothing else. So there wasn't space time, but we cannot think about that. We cannot we visualize everything. Our mind visualize.
But
That's also a very like linear time concept that Stephen's like there's a beginning point and a middle point and an end point. But if time is circular, or if it all exists as one, then there isn't a beginning because there's no end.
that's called the universal theory now. The universal
Exactly.
theory which is what I find very fascinating. It's like
Right.
this is theory. This is always repeating. It's always Thursday, if you will, which I'm
Right.
fascinated by. And I'm always like, at some point though, if the loop goes a little array, or whoever's in charge forgets to put the battery in, what happens
Yeah.
then? You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
why I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah. I always thought, remember back in the day when we had VHS tapes?
Yep.
And someone explained to me once, or I read once, where, we think in linear time is like a VHS tape, right? You start at the beginning, it has to play through, and there's an end, and you got to rewind it or whatever. But if you have a DVD and you put that in, all the endings exist on that DVD at once. You can start and stop it at any point. There's no like tape that you're following. It's all existing on that. And so that's more like what time is more like a DVD, where it's kind of like, here's everything. Here's all the possibilities, all the endings, all the beginnings. You can start and stop it wherever here. That's kind of like, here's the universe on this DVD, rather than like the linear of a VHS tape. I don't know, that, like Adam says, that visualization.
Yeah, but it depends. Even if there is such a thing, which might, of course, but we as humans, as these creatures, we cannot access it. I mean, in one period of our time, like let's say our lives. Or maybe what you are saying, that this happened before we are beginning, and after we are dead, that we exit this one three-dimensional and we go to, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 dimensions, or how many dimensions there are. If we get rid of being locked, because we are locked in 3 dimensions. I mean plus time, 4 dimensions. We are locked. We cannot escape this.
But some scientists say we're in a matrix. We're literally in a simulation. They don't know what else to do, and they got to get grant money. So I don't know if I actually believe that.
My problem with the simulation theory is generally what is it simulating?
Right. Or who's simulating it? What's the computer
because
power?
You have to.
Ask the wizard people.
They have to have some kind of information of the thing that is simulating us. I mean, the base. What are the evidence? There is no evidence.
So here's the other thing I find fascinating. Let's just say that it does the universal theory, which basically is we start here and it's the big circle, it keeps going round and round and round. I know there was a guy at the Pentagon who held a news conference in 2019, and I watched it live on CNN. And he says that they have off-world vehicles. They have found vehicles from other places, not here. And I was like, interesting. So just say that you can take that technology and you can do things with it, and it helps you see things. I know there was a guy that was on a show, and he's from one of the agencies that doesn't exist. And he was like, if the government ever told you what they knew about humanity, people would freak out. And I'm like, I don't think so anymore. I think maybe in the 50s and 60s when they wrote those initial reports, but I think if you told the people the truth about humanity, most of them are not going to believe it. They're going to believe their little book. And there'll be a percentage of them that'll be like, okay, that's what I pretty much thought. I'm going to go on with my day. And you may get 10 or 20% that get hysterical. So, but I'm like, if you know a better history of it, whether you believe it's the Anunnaki that came and said, oh, we make you a seed and water you, something before that, there's something more than the little book. And it's very nice that we believe in a guy in the sky, but there's more to it. It's kind of like if you ever saw the movie The Invention of Lying with Ricky Gervais, where he makes up God in the book. It's kind of what men did, right? We're going to make up this thing.
Right.
But if you go back hundreds of thousands of years and read the Book of the Dead, or you read Mesopotamia, Texas, and you read Sumerians or Gilgamesh and all of this, there were gods that did this and that and and you're like, okay, so let's assume that there were gods, and they weren't really, if you will, like God like we perceive it, but they had advanced technology. So then I go to which is always my question, where did they come from, and then where did they? So I would love to meet these people, and I doubt that they're going to be showing up anytime soon. And go like,
Ask
so
David to
tell
send an
me,
email.
yeah, like David will get him on the show. Tell me what your theory is, how you got here, because I think you have to dissect it that way instead of this. We have a book. There's a guy in this. I think the book is to literally just keep the human race like we're going to make you behave. This is how we make you behave. We give you a fable. You're happy. So that's kind of where my mind is. Like, tell me more about this, but I want to hear it from people that actually know, not the scientists or the guy. I want like there's people that actually know, and I wish they would come forward, but I guess they can't. But it'd be awesome to hear it. I don't even think the
Mhm.
Vatican really knows. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about religion, any religion, is it's based on faith, right?
Right.
And faith is the opposite of questioning, and you're questioning. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like if you don't question, then you'll do what you're told. And
Right.
so that's kind of the point of religion is to do what you're told because you believe it, and there's no disbelief, right? Or you're not a
Right.
good Christian, or you're not a good Jew, or you're not a good
Right.
Muslim, or whatever. You have to demonstrate faith in order to be a good one of those things. And if you need self-validation, then you're going to do the things you think you need to do to prove yourself. And
Good.
so, when you question where do we come from, or what is this, what's this religion say, or if I read this Book of the Dead or whatever, you're
Hmm.
seeking knowledge. You're a philosopher like Adam. You're seeking knowledge.
Right.
You're not going just on faith. You want to know things, and that's kind of what you shouldn't do as a religious person by
Yeah, we
their
can't have
own sort
blind
of
faith.
rules. Well,
Blind faith is
You should
crazy.
question. You should question.
We should
You
always
should.
question, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
but you should question everything. I mean, even the reality that you're living in, you should question it
right.
because it
you
is
should. Yes,
questionable. It
I,
is
I agree, but I'm
questionable.
not a religious person. I mean, I like we've talked about before, I'm kind of like Stephen, where I believe there's
You don't have to be.
something else, but agnostic or whatever. But yeah, I don't follow the rules of religion because I question too much, I suppose.
Right.
I don't like the rules of it.
She doesn't
Yeah.
like the non-adultery, non-coveting thing. She likes that part. She's like,
What do
no,
you mean,
no,
good
they change it.
husband? What bullshit is this?
That's right. She's like, listen, if they let me covet and have adultery, I'm
I'm
going.
good at everything.
I'm in that religion every day. But until then, Vicky's like, no, I'm just gonna go and do
Yeah,
my own
no,
thing.
I want
That's
to
why she goes
go
to Korea. So
be in like a Aphrodite's temple or something and be an acolyte. That's more my jam.
really, tell
I
us
was
more about
fascinated.
this.
I was fascinated with ancient Greek religions. I took ancient Greek in college.
I'm
Actually,
sorry.
my
When you say you took an ancient Greek in college, he was your
Me
professor,
too.
an older
not
gentleman, or you took a
not not
study
the
course,
not the
or
language, but studying the history of it. And actually, my
okay,
college graduation trip, we went to Europe and we went to the different sites that were there. Actually, Roman, but
all right,
the class was Greek mythology. And yeah, I just find that all that fascinating. Just when you see what came before, how do you narrow your vision into just believing one thing? I have a
right.
problem with that. Once you know what other people believe, and you've looked around you and seen, oh, they believe this, or this was a religion 2,000 years ago, whatever. How do you narrow yourself down into believing that it was Adam and
Yeah,
Eve?
because
I just don't. Ugh.
These people are sheep.
I think because
Yeah.
it needs effort, to dig more into the depths of yourself actually, because according to Schopenhauer, that's the only. Kant was saying that we don't have access to the real thing, to the noumena.
Mhm.
But Schopenhauer said yes, except from one situation with yourself. You have access to yourself, to your inner
Right.
self, and it needs a lot of effort because sometimes if you dig, you find monsters also there. It's not easy stuff because you dive into
Mhm.
psychology also. Not only what we are is also psychology, and how we are built during the years, especially the young ages, which
Hmm.
always
Mhm.
carry some kind of trauma. We're traumatized from the beginning. And look, this is also written in the Bibles with Adam and Eve, with the apple, and saying that you will always carry the first sin. But
Original
those are
sin. Yeah.
symbolic, you see. So it's like by default they are saying to us that life is going to have difficulties.
But technically, what's sin? Seriously, killing someone, not so much. That's not really a sin. That's murder. Okay, let's just be blunt. So the sin,
It's a
that's a bunch of
concept.
that's a man-made concept. Is like if you do this, you go to hell. And I think that's a concept to scare the people like they'll be good. What's happened now is that we don't live in the dark ages, and our technology and people's thought, well, not the younger generation, they're just stupid, but my generation, which I think the three of us are in, everyone over 1 million,
The smart one.
the smart ones. I think a lot of it has to do with, we look and we go, that's not quite right. This isn't quite, we're not sheep anymore. And we do think and we can reason. And I think back in the day, people were like, oh, God said, ooh, and now it's sort of like, okay, because every civilization, whether it's the Mayas, the Aztecs, the American Indian, whoever, the Indians, Mega Jews, Lippy, sir, everybody has an origination story and God.
Uh,
And they all
uh,
talk about all this stuff. And they talk about a flood. But before they can all like get to meet, and you have pyramids all around the world. And if you read the book, and how, like, if you read the stories of how the pyramids came, it's fascinating, right? So if you start reading all this, there's a lot more to put the fable aside. There's more to what's here. And the problem is people don't want to talk about it because I'm assuming the governments don't want us to talk about it. The churches certainly don't want to talk about it because once you can't control the people, you can't control anything. They can't control us now as it is. So there was a guy I was on a plane with, and he said the number one fear of any government is to ever let the public know that there is extraterrestrial life, whether like little green men flying, whatever, or people that live in the ocean or in the air. He goes, they don't want anyone to know that. And I was like, tell me why. And he said, because once you find out that you are not alone in this thing we call the universe, you are no longer a Polish citizen, a Texan, or a US citizen. He said, you become an earthling. And once you become an earthling, a government, a religious group cannot control you. And that is the biggest fear of
But
governments
why?
and, if you will, the
If God
church.
created life here, he can create life
You
somewhere
forget
else.
God. Let's put the God thing aside for a little bit. Well, whatever mad scientist, 14-year-old
Even if you
little
put it
Martian kid did
aside,
it.
for the most of the
Yeah,
people, you can't put it aside.
yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. So if that's the case, and this guy is right, and that's their biggest fear, the only way you're ever going to know that there's an alien is, if they literally crash into Midtown during rush hour. And being in New York, they'd be like, "Get out of the way! I'm in a hurry." So it's like they'd be like, "Come on, I got things. You're in my way." So I think you have to really look at the suppression of who we are, what we are, where we came from. That's a government and like, let's just say the Catholic Church, because you got to pick on them because they have priests, and with dog collars, and they have penguins. I love their penguins; they're really tall. Anyway, and then if you look at other things, everybody wants to know. So you have all these people coming out and saying there's this and there's that, and then the government goes, "Oh, they're crazy." But meanwhile, the government says we have off-world vehicles in a press conference at the Pentagon in 2019. So, like, I don't know.
That
Makes no
they
sense
have
to me.
what? They have what?
They said there's a general that came out and he said at a press conference it was on CNN. I remember I was watching it, and he said, I was either the Air Force or the Army, said, we have off-world vehicles in our possession. He goes, that is true. Because they're talking about UFOs. It was covered live. It was a live press conference. He admitted they have off-world vehicles that have been recovered. Full stop.
Well, do
And
they show
off-world meaning
anything of
not of
them?
the US. But then it was sort of like, oh, okay. And then if you look at a guy like Bigelow, he's a UFO guy. He believes in UFOs. But a lot of these people that come out of their little thing and they talk a little bit are like, they found off-world vehicles that are like millions of years old with technology far beyond what we have. And everyone's like, so did we have it here? Did they come? And when they find this stuff, they suppress it, because I think when they find out what it is, they're just like, oh my God, we're not what we think. Like the human race isn't what it thinks it really is, you know?
Well, like the Native Americans, when the Europeans landed, they were a, a god, right? Or
Right.
they
Something.
became this sort of, they didn't know anything beyond their tribe, and then
Right.
this great white alien thing came, and they were like, oh, this was foretold in our stories, and blah blah blah. And
Right.
so then their world expanded into, oh, there are other people out there, and so maybe we're at the tribal stage where we're not,
For
we
me,
don't.
for me, it isn't the most. I don't think that that's the most biggest fear. I mean that the biggest fear is always
The
death,
government.
your own death. It's
Nah, I'm okay with my own
He was
death.
saying the biggest fear of the government, though, Adam.
Yeah, I was talking about the biggest fear of the government, not people.
Not
People are
people.
nothing. People are minuscule. People you can replace like this, and they do
but
because there's 8 billion of them.
okay. I mean, if you have evidence about something, now I was watching there were some guys like a rumor that there's an evidence that an object is coming towards Earth, and it
Mhm.
has corrected its course already
Yeah,
twice. It's
that's
going
5 years
to be
ago.
here.
It was called the Abi Ubi or something. There's a whole book written on it. I read it. It's
No,
fascinating.
no, no. It's not
That's just
the
like no, from a Harvard professor wrote the book. Yeah. That's
Umawawa.
That did it.
No,
That
they're
corrected its
talking about
course.
a new one. New
Oh, a new
one.
one. Cool. Well, good.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
Canadian.
a new one that it's
Here's a
coming
friend.
here towards Earth.
Yeah.
And you know something, I've heard so many things about those stories, but I never see any evidence. I mean, there's no
Well, the
evidence.
Harvard professor that wrote Avi, whatever, I've got his book in my bookshelf somewhere. I read his book. He has all the scientific data about how that thing was doing one thing. And then, literally, like he said, asteroids and meteors just don't stop and make a right hand turn or a left hand turn. And this thing would just be like, oh, it's self correcting. It wasn't just doing, like he said, the trajectory should have been either A, B, or C. And all of a sudden, it did X, Y, or Z. He said, they don't do that. And he said, like, it stopped, it got faster, it went slower. It's sort of like, should I make a right? I make a left. I'm going to make a right. And it was sort of it was fascinating to read the book. It was sort of like it had intelligent control. And meteors and asteroids don't have intelligence. Like throwing a rock. I throw the rock goes where it goes, and it stops. It doesn't stop mid-flight and go, I don't think I want to go straight anymore. I want to make a right. And this thing had intelligent design where it made a right or a left and did its thing, went up and down and slowed up and sped up. So if there's another one coming, yeah, that's fascinating, I think. But there's scientific proof on the last one. I thought that was awesome. His book was great. I mean, it was like you really had to take your time and read it because there's a lot of mathematical stuff. But if once you get through it, it's like, all right, I get it. So I think if you go back, there's the green tablets now. This guy named Brian Carson talks about at the London Museum about how we were created and what Adam and Eve is, what really Eve was, the Garden of Eden was, and it goes through all of this, and I find that fascinating. If you look at the Book of Gilgamesh, they have real technology in there about UFOs that, like, people are like, how would you know this 10,000 years ago? Like, if you read some of this stuff, there's no way they would know it unless they have an advanced civilization there. Like, I'm not going to sit around like you're living apparently like in a mud hut with no power and be like, if I have a nuclear reactor and I
But
do the
still,
following,
look,
so
look, because we don't follow in general in the society, we don't follow this story. But it's one of the stories. It's another
it's one of
story. But
many.
even if
Yeah,
it's true,
yeah, yeah.
my questions go beyond this because they
Okay, what's your
go,
question?
why there is everything that there is, even though even the aliens
Right,
okay, I care on how we have developed.
right.
I don't think that there is a need for an extraterrestrial for us to come into this point.
Okay,
It's just given enough time, we just are here.
okay.
And I don't see any other evidence of some kind of technology that is more advanced than the one we have here now.
Really?
But yeah, we haven't seen anything
Yes.
like that.
I see a lot with the AI companies and quantum companies we deal with. There's a lot of technology that the public has no clue that we're light
If we
years
don't have
ahead.
any clue, then it doesn't exist for us.
Well, that's the same. But the government, when the U.S. government Air
Look,
Force
I
guy says
cannot
we have
think of a
off-road
life of
vehicles,
imagining things that might exist when I don't see the evidence. I mean, I
yeah,
have to
but that
keep
doesn't mean
my.
that doesn't mean they don't exist.
I'm pretty sure that many, many million things exist that I don't have idea
Yeah,
of because I'm human. I have a specific operating system that I perceive life.
right.
and everything. It's very specific because it has been evolved through, I don't know, 4 billion years, and it's specific.
25 minutes.
It's hard to hack it, although we have some technology that hack it sometimes.
Right.
Everything that we do, even medicine, we hack. Something also of a natural cause, but we add another natural
Right.
construct that it's a pill and it kills your disease, for example, like this. But in general, you don't see in that kind of form in nature. I mean, you don't take pills from the trees. You have to
Well, the
construct it.
ancient Asians, people in China, everything they did was natural medicine, and it all cured people. It's just,
Yeah, even
America came out with big pharma. Like,
yeah,
let's
even
make
the
a pill to
tea
do
and
this.
everything is
Do
kind of
that.
pill. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's say. But I'm talking about how advanced we have gone. I mean,
But are we advanced, or are we just getting people addicted to stuff so we can keep them
look,
stupid?
we are advanced comparing to every possible point on
We
the
don't know
past.
that.
We are more advanced than
But we don't
ever.
know that because if you go back and look at the pyramids and you read the Book of the Dead and you read the other books that are 5 and 10 and 30,000 years old and even older, they were actually more advanced. If you read their stuff, they could levitate, they could do, they
What?
could. Yeah, there's a
How
whole bunch of stuff out
they
there.
could levitate?
So there's a book I read, and it talked about an Egyptian priest and that was on a barge with an Egyptian princess, and it's just we'll go. It could be a fable, it could be true, but this is in their ancient history, like the Egyptian history written on a wall. Some guy wrote a book about it, and he said,
Mhm.
so the guy, they're on the barge, and the princess drops her necklace into the Nile, and I was like, well, okay, well, too bad for the princess, and the priest had them stop the barge, and whatever device he had a staff, kind of like Moses, and that staff, he was able to separate the water, and whoever climbed down from the barge got her necklace, climbed back on the barge, gave it to her, and with his staff, he closed the water. So yes, do I think there was more advanced technology 10, 20, 30, 50,
But
100,000, 200,000?
writing
Yes.
somewhere, it's not an evidence because they
Oh, I'm
could
sorry.
write it
But
just to.
oh, really? There's no evidence? Oh, the Bible. It's got to be real. It was written. That's what people perceive. You just told me what I read wasn't real. So is the Bible real?
No, did I say that it's real?
No,
It's
I'm
not
just saying,
for
I'm just
sure
making that as part of the
literal. It's
argument.
not. It's not
Right.
literally real. Of course, it's not.
Well, people believe it's literally real.
The gospel
Well,
truth.
I don't.
I don't know. There's anybody else with IQ points. Now,
I think it's a useful fictions like myths that they're pointing somewhere. Okay, they're
where?
useful for the society. I think they are useful.
I disagree. I
No,
don't
I
think that
don't.
book has anything that's useful. And
I
the
think
Ten
they are
Commandments are
useful
just first of all, there's
stories
over
there. Like there
600
are useful
commandments.
stories in the Greek ancient myths. There are useful stories in the Indian ancient
But wait,
myths.
in the Greek, how
All
do
of
we know
those.
they're myths? How do we know they're not reality? Just because we weren't there,
Well,
that
because
doesn't make them a
Zeus
myth.
was also flying around here and there
But here's the
and
Yeah,
problem,
having
though.
sex with girls here and
Whoa,
there
whoa,
yeah.
all
Could
the
whoa,
be
time and
whoa, hold
making
on.
transform into an
miracles.
animal. Yeah, yeah.
Wait, first of all, that has to be true. He was having sex with girls. Number two, the flying
Not
around part.
flying around. I
How
don't
do you
believe
know?
it
I see that.
because
I
I
do
need to
believe it.
see it to believe it.
Excuse me. I fly every other day. I get on an airplane. I fly around.
Yeah, but he was flying without an airplane. That's what
Okay,
he
and
was
now
just
they have those.
flying
They have
or
those
turning into
jetpacks.
golden rain. He turned into golden
Oh,
rain.
that's a golden
He had
shower.
many.
That's another show.
Don't go there.
That's a whole nother show, Adam. But no, but
I think
so
it was pure imagination, but
I
in
don't think so.
regards for creating a story that has to
Yeah,
that points somewhere that wants you to show you something.
yeah. I don't think
And
there's. I
at
don't.
that time, it worked a lot.
Behind every myth, there's fact, and that's how I look at the myths. Like the first Chinese
Yeah,
emperor
but you don't know
supposedly flew in on a
what the
dragon.
fact is from the
Well,
myth.
yeah, but
I
you can
mean,
only
the Zeus
describe it.
flying around. I don't think it's a fact.
I don't, you know why I think it, you can only describe it for what you understand it of your time.
Your
So
reference point.
if my reference point, so if my reference point is like the first Chinese emperor flew in, the myth is on a giant flaming dragon, and he left 20 years later on a giant flaming dragon. And all I know is, we think dragons are real. Maybe they were. I don't know. I wasn't around 10,000 years ago. So, but archaeologists today hide things. The government hides things. So when people say, oh, it's all mythology, I'm not so sure about it. I'm sure it's been tweaked over the years, But when they find actual tablets or the Book of Gilgamesh and these other books that start talking about advanced technology and it's 10 or 20,000 years old, no, there's
Yeah, but
something
what
to it.
technology? We need to see the technology to
They do.
see a
It's in Gilgamesh.
device
Read
or
the book. If you
something.
read the book in Gilgamesh, it literally lays it out. It gives you how to build a spaceship that does time travel. It's there. So my point is that if it's there's something to it, we just go no because
Time
they couldn't have
travel.
been that smart. Time travel, their ships, everything. Yeah. Look at the
Yeah.
walls. If you go and look at the pyramids and all
The
little
data that we
hill,
have is that time travel cannot exist.
I know, but the data is wrong. The
Well,
data is wrong because
until
they
we
said
see the
you can't.
device that is going into time travel, we
But
know it doesn't exist.
no, we don't know that. What we know is that we, at this point in time, someone hasn't said, I can do it. And if they have done it, they're not telling anybody. So I don't believe anything can't be done. I just think it's whether it's going to be displayed to the public is a different story. Because if I'm the government and I can bend space and time and I'm able to travel from here to Pluto and back, and what would take 50 earthly years, it takes me about 20 minutes. I'm not telling anybody that. Why would I tell you why would I tell you that? You know what I could do with that technology if I'm a government or if I'm a company or if I'm a person? I could do anything and no one would ever know because I could be and do everything and be just
So it's game.
yeah.
So it's game over. You will never
I think
know.
it's game. I think you will know at some point by mistake. Something will happen at
So
some
we're
point.
waiting for the
That's it.
mistake.
I think so. I do think so.
Okay.
I think we are waiting for the mistake. It's kind of like,
Mhm.
3 Mile
Or
Island
the
here in
invasion.
America. Pardon me?
Yeah.
Uh,
Or the alien invasion, one of the two,
Well,
where
we
they
know
just
that's coming. According to the guy from the CIA, he said that's coming in 2017. So we're all
the
going
thing
to be
that's
dead
kind
in
of
8
fascinating
years.
to me too is that like if you're a astronomer and you're looking at, you discovered a new planet. Oh, look, here's this planet XYZ out here, and they have evidence for Adam. There's evidence of um, little things flying around the planet. So they have the technology to travel, and all of a
Right.
sudden, we see this thing on our scopes, and we see that this exists. What's the point of that existing if it has nothing to do with us? And then
Right.
that kind of takes us out of that sort of,
Mhm.
earthling. You become an earthling. Why does that exist over there? It has nothing to do with
Right.
us. So that means that we're not
well,
the
it's the
center of the
potentials of
universe.
the universe, of the nature.
Right.
I guess it is egoistic to believe that there's life only here. But look, there's been a lot of time, and the conditions for life don't seem to be easy. So there
No, it's
might be
true.
other life, but we don't know if
But
it's so
wait, no,
advanced. And
I
our
disagree with
advancement,
I
we
disagree
don't
with that
know.
though. The
It's
conditions of
look,
life are easy for you to have a human life, but we understand it has to
we don't
Mhm.
be,
know.
they call it the Goldilocks. That doesn't mean if I go to Mars and there's someone living on Mars, that means that they've adapted to that condition. Like if you go
Mhm.
look at War of the Worlds, right? What killed War of the Worlds? Like the common cold type of thing, right? They couldn't handle our atmosphere or whatever. So, we go live on Mars or Pluto or Planet X or whatever, we have to adapt. And over whether it's a few generations or millions of years, the babies, which, because are going to be born
Space babies.
on that planet, yay, space babies are going to be born on that planet, will adapt to that planet and they may look different than us. They may, and I'm
Mhm.
being somewhat funny, they may have gills, they may have whatever it is, but they may be different to adapt to that environment. So for this environment, and this is why when scientists say, oh, the scientists are stupid. I'm sorry, you are. But for our environment to see this, what we are today, with the animals and everything we have, that's what you need to survive. But on the moon, Pluto, Mars, Venus, Jupiter,
And you think
pick
the
a planet,
scientists
don't
don't know
care.
that?
I think scientists are, no, I think scientists are stupid. And I think they have their head up
Oh,
their
that's a
ass
big
and they
thing,
have
big
no clue.
statement.
Well,
Yeah,
let
right.
scientists go.
I've
All the
met some
scientists
pretty,
are
pretty
like,
genius scientists.
I'm a
yeah.
genius. I can't help it. Let a scientist come on and debate. No, listen, I've talked to scientists and they'll say, "Oh, life." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Look,
cool. Yes. What about this?"
I don't know what the point is. Okay, let's say, okay, they are different than us. Of course, they would
Right.
be different than us, but they have to have some similar things, like to come here from anywhere else
Mhm.
We don't imagine the distances. We don't imagine them. The closest another star system is 4.1 or 2
Light
light
years away.
years.
Right.
You need a
4.2 billion light
technology
years.
to
Right.
come, to get into a ship
But that would be
and
bending.
travel.
Wouldn't that
You
be
need
bending
technology. That
space and
means
time?
you need
They told.
advanced thinking,
Right.
turning material into something that will make
Right.
a tool for you.
Yeah.
That's advanced thinking.
Right.
It's pretty sure that they won't look the same. It doesn't matter. But the common thing that they have to have is this. And they have to have it much, much more advanced so that they
Right.
build the machines that can travel. But there are very strict things about the traveling. Even if you find very, very fast, there are some limitations in space. And it's really, I find it really, really hard to get any communication from any kind other system that might have advanced a form of living.
But
It's
that's only
unbelievable.
our knowledge of what we know today. But if you listen to guys like Bob Lazar, who supposedly worked at Area 51 back in the 80s, and he talks to you about the propulsion and the gravity bending and everything these machines can do for them,
Well,
or if
you
they're
can
interdimensional.
look. I'm an artist. You can put your imagination go wild, and you can think
He
of
worked for the
any
US
kind of.
government. He worked for the government. He's telling you actually what he knows to be true. And he's been saying the same
I don't
thing for
know.
30 plus years. Look at
I've
Bigelow from Bigelow Space and Aeronautics.
I need
This
the
guy gets
evidence to
called.
see it. To see it.
I think Bob Lazar has the closest amount of evidence that the public's going to know. I think Bigelow has a lot. He's not going to tell anybody.
Until that moment, we have to wait until he
John Lear
provides
actually had
evidence that's going
John
to make.
Lear John Lear had photos of space stations, not ours, on the moon, and he showed them. There's a whole YouTube video with John Lear going, boo, 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 boo. It's also just been a
Where
couple of
did he
years
get
ago because he used to be a
photos
spook,
from?
and I think he literally just stole them from NASA. The other thing which was interesting is John Lear would say when they show you pictures of the moon and Mars, they are enhancing the way they
Anyway,
look. Wait, wait, let me finish.
look,
They're
Stephen,
enhancing the way they
I
look.
don't care
Yeah.
if there are aliens. I don't
Okay.
care.
I do though.
I'm just saying my logic. My
Yeah.
logic is saying that it's impossible for other civilizations to come here. It's impossible from any kind of point
I
that you will
disagree.
see. And then how we can communicate. Now, if we are children of some alien species, it
Right.
doesn't answer my question why we are here in general.
Right.
Why the aliens are here. This is my question. Why everything there is here. This is my basic, and it's the basic question.
Yeah, that's too basic.
mean,
We know that. What about the TikToks from 2016 that went from literally a meter from the ground to like 50 miles in the air in a
I
second?
don't
What's
believe
that?
what I see on the internet right now or
That
read.
was
I
from the
don't
United
believe
States
it.
Navy.
I
It's
don't
like they
care. They can
confirmed
lie
it. They
too.
confirmed
They
it.
can lie to the governments lie from time to
Okay.
time.
That's the problem.
Welcome to the
Because
Catholic
we get
Church.
evidence, we don't believe it anyway now because there's so much
Right.
deep fake stuff that even if
No,
we
but this
have
was actually
an
like
alien that walks up and says, "Hi, I'm an alien from Alpha Centauri," we're gonna be
Exactly.
like,
You
"Why?"
don't know what kind of
So,
technology people have with AI
we're not
now, right? Stuff like that.
no, in
I I
2016, it's this actually, listen, there's like documented stuff. The guys were all on like real, like 60 Minutes. They had the real
no, I get it. I
naval
agree.
officers and
I'm just
everything.
saying
But
people aren't gonna believe it. It could be the realest
right,
evidence ever
right.
from the government, and people are still gonna be like, "Nope, fake."
Yeah, this is the
Or
perfect time to tell them that aliens exist, since nobody's going to believe it. Nobody will be
right.
panicked. That's what they
Well,
were
it
worried
kind
about in the
of
But
is,
50s and
right?
60s.
People do it on
I don't
video when they
see
announce
any
it before. Well,
implications that aliens exist or they have come
Really?
here. Although I don't believe it, I don't see any big implications in our life because our primal fears that we're gonna die still exist.
That's not my primal
Hasn't
fear.
changed.
That's never been a fear of mine. I could care less
You
about that.
don't
I already
represent
know
the
it.
whole of humanity, Stephen. You represent
I,
I
yourself.
mean,
yeah,
I'm
but I,
saying
listen,
what I
humans try to
see
keep themselves
in our
alive.
life every day, in
I know, but
everybody.
it's inevitable. This body goes. I know that, but whatever's inside the according to the absolute, which is the CIA Gateway Project, my energy goes to wherever, and it goes wherever. Okay, so I'm good with that, or nothing. So I'm like, okay, so the death part I could care less about. It's the part between born and death
But
that's
do
important.
you think that that's the way most people think in the
No, I
world?
think most people are afraid of tomorrow. And I'm not, and I'm not
Why?
going to, because
Why?
there's an old saying, right? You
Because they
can either
might
die,
die
right?
tomorrow. They
You can
will
either
die
be,
at some point in the
And if they
future.
die, what
right,
happens? And if your
right.
religion tells you that you get to go to a lovely place with 100
Oh,
virgins,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you're
yeah,
not as
yeah.
scared of
Ooh.
it.
that's
Okay,
another
I've
stress,
never
you know,
met
that's
one
Yeah.
another
virgin, let alone I've
fear.
never met
But
one,
it
let alone 100. But
but
the
it's
other thing is,
connected to the primal fear of death.
right. But the other thing is this: you can either die a million times and be scared of everything, or die once. And I live under the premise I'm only going to die once. So
Mhm.
I'm not worried about anything other than when it happens, great. In between that time and now, I live life to the fullest. I want to know as much as I can. I've, whether it's about UFOs, reading a Bible, or reading the Quran, or reading the Book of the Dead, I'm fascinated by all of it, even Greek mythology, because behind all of it, there's some truth. The question is what's true and what's man-made. And to me, it's
Mhm.
just a fascinating
Every
subject.
truth is man-made, I think.
Kind of, I think. But I do believe to
Because
your
there's no
point.
other way. It's because we are humans talking to humans. That's it.
Some of you are human. Anyway, but no, I truly think that we are.
And
I
we
think
and we think in a conceptual language. We
yeah, and
think
I
in
think different.
narratives, in
And I
stories. So
think,
we're
and I
saying
think
stories
different.
to each
So yeah,
other. Every
right. But
scientific theory works or doesn't work. It's a
right.
story.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
scientists, they're a bunch of
But
idiots. They got
those who
nothing.
work are more useful because we can
Right.
implement it into our technology, which makes, let's say, our lives easier.
Listen, as long as you keep the sheep and the ostriches with their head in the sand, they'll
Uh,
believe whatever you want them to believe. And the human race is the greatest bunch of 8 billion ostriches ever
so
created because they do what they're told.
here's a weird question for Adam. I
Yes.
don't know if it's the coffee kicking in or what, but okay. So say, say like to other alien species, we're like little animals, right? So like to us, there's the ants, or there's insects, or there's, bears, whatever. They are at a societal level below ours, right? So we're gods to them, probably. To your dogs, I'm sure this is the case. You, Adam, you're a god to your sweet puppy because she's like, oh,
Yes.
this man feeds me, and he's just like the best thing in the world. I just love him so much. But so,
Okay.
do you think that animals have a religion that we don't know about?
That's an
There are
interesting question.
animals. There are animals that
Like,
we don't
are
know
Like
they
a
about.
dog.
made?
Does the dog have a religion that we are not aware of in their
Right,
mind?
because it's at
No,
a
no,
lower
the
level
dog
that we
cannot
can't
have a
understand.
religion because the dog does not
Maybe
associate
you're,
his life with narratives. It doesn't have metacognition. We have metacognition. We know that we know. The dog doesn't
well,
know
we
that
know
it
your
knows.
dog has a soul, and we know that they dream, and we
That's
know that
different. They are conscious. They have consciousness.
yes.
Yes, like we
Right.
do.
So
Like
maybe they have some kind of
every
religion.
living. They have
Maybe you're the
different.
God to them, and that's all they need. It's not organized. They don't have a
They don't
Bible,
have
of
they
course.
don't have a concept of a god. They have a concept of a prime mate, like the alpha.
So you're
He sees me. My dog sees me as the
as
alpha in
alpha,
his team,
his
Okay.
the
pack.
most
So
important one, the one who
can that be
brings
seen as
food,
a
the one
religion?
that
Mhm.
decides this. Yeah,
Cleans,
Right.
cleans up his
How
but
are
poop.
you
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
different than a God to him, though?
look, the difference between us and the dog would not be that great that between us and the aliens, because the aliens, if they have come here
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
different system, they will
Hmm.
be totally different than us. I mean, it would be
Probably, but maybe not. We don't know. Maybe
no,
there's
no,
a
they
version
have to. They
somewhere.
have to. If they have managed to reach such a destination, only this is it's pure logic from wherever. That means that
That's
they
the
have been living
spaceballs.
for a long time in the space. That they have
Mm.
managed to live to be alive inside space, which space is not friendly for living, because it's and we're talking about um, unbelievable amount of space, unbelievable. We cannot imagine it. And if they have come here from somewhere else, that means that this kind of species is very advanced. That means we don't have probably any kind of means to know that they are here.
Mhm.
You
That's
know
what we're
those
talking about.
videos
Right.
that we see somewhere that is there. No, they can erase it from our vision. They can
Right.
erase. They can
Men in
become
Black.
invisible.
Sure.
Yeah,
Invisible.
yeah,
Was
but
it the pen?
about that, we're saying so. But you go, oh, I don't see, don't believe. That does just because you don't see it. That doesn't mean it's not happening.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me that I can believe in many things. I can
Right.
believe that I am making up all of this thing. My mind is making up
Mhm.
all its solipsism, and I can believe in this. And
Right.
you have no uh, evidence to tell me differently.
Right.
Mm.
How can you?
Well,
I think
if he did, you wouldn't
I would
believe it.
just be
What does it
saying that
matter?
my
If he handed it to
imagination,
you, you wouldn't believe
my
it.
imaginary Stephen is just
Mhm.
trying me to convince me of something that doesn't exist. But it's one of the things that I imagine.
Oh
So
God, Steven's
I,
the voice in our head. Is that what you're
I
saying?
can believe myself talking now because now
Right.
I'm talking out, but I'm looking at myself also. So it's like a externalizing thing and looking at them also. You know.
Mm.
So I believe that this guy is right, or Vicky is right, or anything that I would decide that I prefer this story.
I like to
This
be the
is
Mm.
this
voice in
is
your
Right.
head, though.
this
That's
is the
awesome.
this
You're
is
so screwed up.
the mind that I don't know if they really care about the truth. I
I
think
agree
they
with
care
that.
about the most interesting story. They like interesting stories. If the truth is very interesting, they will favor it.
Mm.
And I think that the
Mind is the human
truth
race.
is the most interesting story, but it's so complicated that our minds cannot grasp it.
I don't think
It's
that's
too
true. I think our
complicated.
minds can grasp it. I think we just don't. We just think humans are stupid, which they are. But I think if you
So
tell them
if we
what's
are
going on,
stupid,
I think they're okay.
what can we decode
No,
actually? Nothing.
I mean, like every now and then, a blind squirrel finds a walnut. Broken clock is like twice a day, right? So I
Twice
mean,
a
it's
day,
So
simple.
right?
that's not a great species. I would prefer those aliens that came and you cannot see them, feel them, but they are here. But there's no evidence that they are. Why would an alien civilization that
Mhm.
have managed to live in the space for millions of years, because you need millions of years to come here, whatever
Right?
technology
Are
you
you?
have.
No, maybe you don't. Maybe you can bend space and time. You can be here in 30 seconds. Maybe it's
The space
Yeah.
multidimensional. Maybe
and
they figured out
yeah,
dimensions and
wormholes
If
and
you
dimensionals.
can do it, if you can do this, if you can do
Yeah.
this, you have no reason to come here. This
Why
is a
not?
shithole
I'm
for
here.
you, because
I
this
know.
is
They
shithole
visit
for
me.
you.
They hang out with me. We
Look,
smoke
it's a shithole for
cigars.
you because if they are so advanced,
Right.
you're a shithole to that. They'll go to other civilizations
That
which are more
better
interesting than
shitholes. They
us.
go to better shitholes than
maybe
us.
they just accidentally landed in the shithole, like when you're going to Vegas and you end up in Bakersfield. Like,
That's right.
maybe
But
it's like a
if they
they
have
come
this
for a
kind of
purpose.
civilization
Yeah.
so advanced, this is
Yeah.
really a shithole. We still have wars. We
Yeah.
still watch footballs. We still, just the everyday shit
Football. I
that we
mean,
do.
come on.
Eat. We have sex. Like,
Wait a
you
minute.
you,
Okay.
you just don't press.
Wait a second.
You
If
just
you're
don't press.
that,
You don't even have to
if
press anything. You just
wait,
think, I want the biggest orgasm, and now you have it. You
okay,
don't
that
need
I'm
anything
Wait,
good with
wait,
else.
that.
wait a minute. We do.
Yeah.
I need.
Well,
What
yeah,
can I
yeah,
say
yeah.
for
Wait a
that?
second. We're going back.
Wait,
Well, so you're
back
wait a
up.
minute. They're billions of years advanced from us. This is the thing I took from everything just Adam said, which makes a lot of sense. But you're billions of years advanced from us, and I don't have sex. I didn't like that until you said I can think about an orgasm and I have it. Sign me up.
Yeah.
I'm there.
But
Evolution, man.
that would
Evolution.
be an advanced civilization would look like.
I
They
guess.
don't they don't need to move. They don't need to speak. They transfer ideas to your
Perfect
head
marriage.
immediately,
So
like that.
yeah, but they do. That's what people say when they've encountered UFOs. That's what happens. Here, let me tell you a story, and maybe Barney and Betty Hill,
Nobody
1962.
encountered anything.
Yeah, Barney and Betty Hill, 1962, were abducted by
They
aliens. It was a
encountered it in their head,
well,
in
let me
their
finish. Let me finish the story, and you
imagination.
after that do whatever you want with it. So Barney and Betty Hill were abducted by aliens. Barney was black. His wife was white. Interracial couple. They get abducted by aliens. It was a movie about it in the early 70s with James Earl Jones playing Barney, and Betty was telling about the procedures that they were doing to them, like sticking needles and doing this other things and yada yada yada. But one thing they showed her, she said, "Where do you come from?" And they showed her a star map. This is like 1962. And under hypnosis, she drew the star map. And when she showed that, they showed it to all these astronomers and all these professors and military people. Everyone said, this does not exist. In 1975, guess what they found? That that she drew in 1962. So I find it hard to believe that Betty, who's just a housewife, decides I'm going to make up a story and draw a map. So no, I think there's things out there. I think the average human doesn't comprehend them or doesn't want to. I think we open our minds, it's right in front of us. But the Betty and Barney Hill story is probably one of the best documented, and it's also gives you like here's a constellation that we never knew about, a star system, and it's a star system that's brought up in a book that's like 15,000 years old about where they come from. So I think there's a lot
What
there, and that's it.
okay, you believe that there are aliens. What does it change in your system, in your
Well, I see them every Thursday.
metaphysics,
We
for
play
example?
poker.
Okay, there are
Yeah, believe,
aliens.
what
All right.
belief? Yeah.
So
To me, if it's so, I'm fascinated that they're there. There's a report written by I
my
forget what.
question is
Yeah,
why they are there, we are here, why there is all this
because
thing? Why?
I like that means that there's so much more to explore. There's so much
I know that there
more
is
than
much more to
whatever.
explore.
Right,
There
but
are
I'm fascinated. But they wrote
unanswered
a report
things.
for the CIA in the Rand Corporation wrote a report in the 50s or the 60s that says you can't tell the Americans or the world about UFOs because they'll go crazy. It'll end religion. Blah 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 blah. I went through this whole thing. The problem is we don't live in the 50s and 60s anymore. We live in 2024. And I don't think, and here's what's really funny, because of all this crap, like Vicky said, nobody really cares and AI and blah, blah, nobody really gives a shit anymore. Literally, I think they could land on the White House lawn tomorrow and go, we're here, and people are going to be like this with their phone. Yeah, that's great. Oh, there's an alien. Okay, that's great. Oh, did you see this TikTok video? People are so stupid and so into whatever, nobody would care. There'd be 10% of the population like, this is really cool. What are we going to do with this? The rest of the population is going to be with their head up their asses or playing ostrich. They wouldn't care. And so I think it's time, in my opinion, for the governments, not the
You
churches,
see,
sorry,
it's not that of importance. You see?
it's important. It's important.
It's
It's
not the biggest
important.
fear of humanity. The biggest fear of humanity
Yeah.
is death.
No, yeah,
Always have been and
that's because they're
always will
stupid.
be. And this is actually the thing that preserves life. The fear of death. It preserves
Right.
life.
I don't know
It's
about that. If
survival
it preserved
tool.
life, if it preserved life, you wouldn't have wars. You wouldn't have people doing stupid stuff. You wouldn't have people killing each other. We'd be taking care of our people, not letting them be homeless. So there wouldn't be poor people.
Well,
We'd have better health care.
even wars, is a mechanism for humans to
Killing
preserve
people.
life in
Yeah,
a
to
way
get rid of
because
people. It's like we need food.
yeah, to get rid of other people that are eating your resources, for example,
Let me ask you this: so the
or
Russian invading Ukraine, well, there's no purpose for that, and also Hamas attacking Israel,
they
there's
have
no
taken
purpose.
resources, they have taken lands, so resources
Oh, really?
behind
Because
it.
Russia's so small.
Well, it's not that small, but those resources there are probably needed for them for some reasons.
They just want to. Putin's trying to
Another
get back to
story, but they believe the story, so they
1745.
fight for the story.
Yeah, if nobody wants to fight for it, that's the problem. I
Well,
mean,
there
like
are
everyone's
people
deserting
dying
their
right now
military.
there for some
Yeah,
kind of story. Either the story is, oh, he's going to pay me 1,500 bucks.
yeah, that's a crazy
That's
story to
another
die for.
story. But
That's a
and I
stupid
will
story to
go
die
and
for. Yeah,
kill
yeah.
others because I'll be
They're
paid this
deserting.
money.
That there's a whole article in the Economist that they're all deserting. Like they all just want to get. They're like going over to the Ukraine side.
But there
Like,
are
hey,
people
listen.
killing other people for some kind
Yeah,
of stories.
yeah.
That's not
Well, look
true.
at Hamas.
Uh-huh.
Hamas is killing Jews, and then when the
Hamas,
Jews decide,
Hezbollah, Jewish state also, on the other hand. There are also
well,
stories from
here's
the
what's
other
funny about
side.
that part of that conflict. When the United States in 9/11, the towers got hit. We said we will find you wherever you are, and we will destroy you and kill you, and yada yada yada. And the whole planet's like, you go, America. When Israel does the same thing, they're like, why are you doing that? So these double standards. This is what I'm saying. It's maybe just as well that we don't
Do you
the
think that
UFOs.
most of the other countries like that there was later invasion to the Iraq because that was what happened next?
I'm aware of what happened. Yeah. What do I
Yeah,
think
but
they like it?
that's what happened. Most of the
Yeah,
people did not
like it.
accepted this.
I can't. But here's the
Also,
thing. This is the problem with America. Like we're going to go do. We don't think through anything. We're like the big bully sometimes. And the problem is that we've like for the last 100 years, we're like this big bully. And now China is coming up and all these other countries. At some point, either it's gonna implode, or we're all gonna have to get along. And we're gonna have to say, listen, we need to think through this, and we need to do this, and we need not to have oligarchs and tyrants and blah blah. We all need to like help humanity. But until we decide we're going to help humanity, we're screwed. I mean, literally, it's an arms
We
race
don't
to see
agree
who has
on
more
how we
time.
will help humanity or
Well,
what
I have
is
a perfect.
humanity. That's
I
why I'm
think
saying that we need to see philosophically things
I
first,
think
because
philosophically we should
we
write a
have
book
we have
called
a
"To
problem in
Serve Man."
philosophy in general first
So
as
no, I think
species.
we should write a book called "To Serve Man." And for anybody that knows the Twilight Zone episode, you know what I'm talking about. And I think that's how you serve humanity. So you ever saw that episode, "To
Um,
Serve Man"? They translate this book. It's called "To Serve Man," and they're like these aliens land, and everyone's all excited, and they
what
take you
what
into their
show was
planet.
it?
Twilight Zone called this,
Right.
and the
Oh,
Twilight
I
Zone had
don't
a theory called
remember. I
this
saw
"To
it
Serve
very
Man."
young.
Yeah. Well, one of the reason I think this is very funny because they're all like, the aliens are here to help us, and everyone's all happy and great and blah blah. And then they finally translate the book "To Serve Man," and they realize
And
it's
I
a
mean,
Look, what I
there's
was
like a
trying to say about the aliens and
yeah,
helping us and stuff like this. If there
oh
are
yeah,
aliens and they have come here, they can help us like this.
maybe they
You
already did.
understand?
I
It's
understand.
in their
they
ability
want
to
to.
help us in like I don't know. They'll just release a vibration around the earth that will change our minds into positive thinking and something like that. I don't know. But if they exist, they would have this kind of technology.
I
So
don't know
to
about
travel
that.
and manage to travel those millions of years in space, that means that you have overcome
Well, they might
many,
have
many,
prime
many, many
directives.
advanced. Sorry.
You know, if we're gonna, I wish is odd when I need them. They might have the prime directive, Adam, which is like they want to go out and explore, but they've agreed to not interfere in any society that they
No,
encounter.
look.
So they observe you, but they're
Then
not
it
going to
doesn't
extend them an
matter. Then it
agreement.
doesn't matter that they exist. It doesn't matter if we cannot
It doesn't
perceive
matter
them.
to you, but it
It
matters to
doesn't matter.
them.
Yeah, they like that they exist.
They
So
like that they exist.
yeah.
Look, I think that if something so advanced exists, that they would not care about this planet. It's too
We're
You know,
I think
under
we're
I like
advanced.
looking at ants sometimes. And I'm like, what's that ant carrying on its back? Oh, it's a giant leaf. That's kind of cool. I mean, then I go about my day. I don't like try and put the ant
But
on a
still,
stick and
I
see.
imagine, I imagine the because the universe is such a big place. It's really,
right.
really big place. We cannot imagine that it's really hard to find other, you know,
I don't think so. I
it's
don't
really,
think
really
so at all.
hard.
I think there's stuff right around our corner that the government if knows about, doesn't tell us
Well,
about
that
everything.
can be only imagination, Steven.
There's
Yeah,
little
wishful
reports that you
hope.
can read that are like from back in the day that they tell you about this stuff. So yeah,
They
no,
are
I
not
don't know
real
about that.
evidence. They are not real
Okay, all
evidence.
right. Adam's a debunker. There you go.
They are not
He's
Adam's
in
real
the
the
great
bunker.
evidence.
debunker.
He's a debunker.
We
Adam,
need real evidence. We
I
need
could
real
fly
evidence.
I could fly a
That's why.
spaceship
That's
into
why
your lawn and you would
I
tell me
never.
it's not real.
I always have a question: why all the miracles that happen about Christianity happen only at the time of Jesus, and they never happen at the moment that we have, mobile phones that we can record it. Now, of
That's
course, I
why.
don't believe in videos because there's AI. So too
Right,
late. Now I need
right.
to
You're
see
here.
it with my eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
And now, and even if I see something very, very strange, I'll start to think what kind of technology they have. Not that it's a miracle,
Oh my God.
Right.
I'll start to think this way.
Okay.
Miracles
I
were just
It's
used
really
to
hard for me to
explain
believe in
technology
stuff,
we didn't
but
understand.
I tell you that even those stuff exists and stuff like that. I try to my mind is occupied with what's behind all of this, or any kind of illusion that you will look at. I believe that what we are perceiving right
yeah.
now, it's an illusion. Doesn't exist the way it
Okay.
exists. There is an external world, but what you're perceiving is just a tiny, 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 tiny nothing of what
Like
it
the Wizard of
really
Oz.
is.
Don't look at the man behind the
Yeah.
curtain. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
And my question is what there is behind it and what is driving all of it, why
Well,
it
we at the lizard
exists.
people
The
in our
man from
Illuminati
Kansas.
society want to just say, don't look behind the curtain and just
Mm.
keep sticking your head
And
in
I
the
try
sand
to
and you'll be fine.
I try to stick to the real things, the
Right, right.
evidence. And the evidence is that we exist. We know that we
We,
exist.
do
And we
we? Do we
exist into
know?
ourselves also. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that you exist.
I don't
I
know.
don't think that I've created you in my head.
Well, you know, the amount of drugs
I
that you
don't
took in
think
the
so.
60s, you never know.
The good times.
The good times back in the day when
Or the
drugs were
80s.
cool, kids. So, but anyway,
Where the kids did not have TikTok that
right, right.
destroyed their sexuality.
No, we
That's
had
right.
cocaine. Yeah.
That's right. Now with all that crap, you don't have it's like it's
Hey, we extended this
YouTube
episode so
banned us.
much. I have to go on shopping, do some
oh,
shopping.
Adam's got to go. So let's gonna end it. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching. Vicky, are you here next week or in Korea?
I'm in Korea.
Yay for Vicky. Okay,
I might be
everybody.
here. Who knows? We'll see.
I never know. Anyway, we'll be back live next Monday, rebroadcasting on Tuesday. If you just want to listen to the podcast, go to Two Old Farts Making Noises, wherever you get your podcast. That's TWO. You can spell the rest. And we will see you all next week. We're not sure who's going to be here, but we'll be here. All right. Cheers, everybody.
Bye bye.